Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all. Welcome to this week's Duchenne Method Live. This is where I attempt to demystify the mind-body connection. And I invite you into this sacred circle of creation. And I like to call it that because it's what it really feels like to me. It feels like we're really in this sacred circle together. And we get to work out these 3 steps that I've been talking about for a little bit now, which is to integrate acknowledgement, engagement, and support in our lives with our loved ones, in our communities and our systems, and here that we might be able to share our insights and communicate with one another via the chat. Good morning. Good morning. I see some of you are jumping on. Hey, Jenny is here. Sabi is here. Elise was here, but she has an appointment this morning. Welcome, everyone. It's really great to see you all here. And I really appreciate you being here today. Happy Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a very important holiday that we are celebrating all of us together in, I think it was 1865, June 19th, 1865, where enslaved African Americans in Texas told that they were free. And so henceforth, we have really begun to celebrate a very important day of freedom on this day. So I'm thrilled that you're joining me on Juneteenth so that we might explore this wonderful work that we are doing together. And today in specific, we're really looking at, again, that mind-body connection and what is the fascia-nervous system. This week, I'm breaking it down a little bit more because a lot of the time you'll hear me talk about how the fascia system, the nervous system are actually one. And they are intricately interwoven. In fact, in some circles, blood is considered fascia, is considered connective tissue. And when you dissect the human form, if you have the great privilege of working or studying with my teacher, Gil Headley, you can check him out at gilheadley.com. If you have children who might be interested in doing this type of work, he does a holistic approach to dissection, which is very respectful. It's very beautiful. And we really learn about the intricate connections of the fascia nervous system. So I just wanted to put it out there in case one of you might want to explore that a little bit further. Good morning. Hey, Sophia. Hi. Sophia's back from Italy, from India, or you're in Italy right now, I believe, after your long travels in India. What a pleasure to have you with us. Welcome. So yes, it's a very beautiful day together, Sabi. I'm excited to be here. And without any further delay, I really want to jump into this topic so that we might explore together a little bit more in depth. What is this fascia nervous connection? Well, first of all, I am going to repeat what I've been sharing for a few weeks about what is fascia. So fascia, we know by now, it's a complex and continuous webbing of connective tissues within your body. And this connective tissue layer surrounds, supports, and interconnects these structures, such as your musculoskeletal structure. That includes your muscles, your organs, and your bones. So for example, if we were to remove all of my skin from my body right now, let's say we remove the top layer, which is the skin, I would essentially be the same, because underneath the skin, immediately interwoven with the skin, is connective tissue, is a fascial layer, the superficial fascial layer. And that beautiful intermatrix of connectivity holds us together. That's fascia. And there are different types of fascia in the body. They're not all the same. There's thinner layers, there's more elastin, more elastic tissue. There's tissue that's a little bit thicker around bone, for example, to keep the integrity of the bone structure. And so we're going to get a little bit more into that today. So your fascia is pretty darn important, right? So it's consisted of different types of proteins. Collagen is one of them. Elastin is one of them, and there are other protein matrices in the body. But essentially, we focus on collagen and elastin protein. And so this beautiful fascia forms layers, it forms compartments and sheaths that envelop and separate different anatomical structures. For example, connective tissue we have different type of connective tissue around each one of our organs. Isn't that amazing? When I did my first dissection, that's really when I understood why people actually believed in God, because I was like, this is a miracle. And I keep saying that. I keep saying that because our bodies truly are miracles. So every single organ in your body has its own fascial sheathing that surrounds and protects it. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so that's your fascia system. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about your nervous system. I'm dissecting those today. So the nervous system, as we have learned before, is a complex network of specialized cells, and those cells are called neurons. And neurons transmit electrical signals throughout your body. And when we talked about this before, now you know that the nervous system consists of two main components. There is the central nervous system, and there is the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system comprises of the brain and the spinal cord. And a few weeks ago, I did an entire class on foam rolling to help you connect with your spinal cord, to let you melt and release into the foam roller to regulate your nervous system, especially the central nervous system. Again, that's your brain and your spinal cord. So every time you lay, especially on a very juicy, soft roller, it really helps to regulate that entire body-mind connection. It helps to relax us. So your central nervous system, this one is in charge of receiving. It's in charge of processing and interpreting information from the peripheral nerves to initiate appropriate responses. We'll get to the peripheral nerves in a moment, okay? So the central nervous system actually plays a crucial role in cognition, right? To being cognitive, to have intelligent, balanced conversations. It is also in charge of movement, of sensory perception, how we move in space, and overall coordination of bodily functions. For example, having to go to the bathroom every morning, right? Your bowel movements, also different parts of your body where it's just natural, like breathing, right? Those parts are just all natural. They happen naturally, automatically. The peripheral nervous system includes all of the nerves outside of the brain and spinal cord. So can you imagine? So you have your central nervous system, your brain, and your spinal cord. That's the central nervous system. That's all connected to the brain. Everything else, every other nerve in your body is included in the peripheral nervous system. All of the nerves outside of the brain and spinal cord. And those systems are further divided into the peripheral nervous system, is further divided into your somatic nervous system and your autonomic nervous system. So don't worry, I'm going to break it down, make it super easy for you. So first, your somatic nervous system, what does it do? It controls voluntary movements and sensory perception, whereas the autonomic nervous system regulates involuntary processes such as heart rate, digestion, and stress responses. And I talk a lot about your somatic system, don't I? Because that's what I do. I am a somatic therapist, and I help people to regulate their nervous system, a lot of it through touch, through alignment. So now, let me pause for a second. Is this making sense for everyone? Just give me a thumbs up if you're following me, if it makes sense to you, if this is clear. Give me a thumbs up, because that was a lot of information, but it's just the introduction, right? Okay, awesome. Everybody's with me. Thanks, Jenny. This is going to be interesting for you, Jenny, also, just because of how that fascial system and the nervous system actually work together to create a healthy, balanced human being. Okay, so now, what's the relationship between the fascia and the nervous systems that I'm dissecting today? So first, the fascia nervous system relationship, you have to understand it's a dynamic and intricate connection between those two systems. It's not passive, it's dynamic. They work together all the time. In fact, the fascial and nervous system count on one another to help you regulate your entire systems in the body. It's not just one system. Fascial and nervous system together, for example, will help to regulate your cardiovascular system, your respiratory system, your endocrine system, your hormonal system, right? So their relationship and learning how to be in relationship with those two systems is super important for optimal health. And I love talking about it because there's so many more simple ways of being able to regulate ourselves. So what's important to know now, fascia, your fascial system is not merely a wrapping around your muscles and organs. It's not just that. It's an active participant in transmuting and modulating signals throughout your body. Fascia contains sensory receptors. Okay, so fascia is like, I like to call that tentacular. So when I have clients who are super empathic or very sensitive, right? Their receptors, their tentacles, they feel everything. This is why it's so important, if you're an empath, to understand about your fascia nervous system, because there are many things that you can do easily in the moment to help calm your system down. So your fascia has all these sensory receptors, okay? And they're called mechanoreceptors, proprioceptors, and interoceptors. Let's break those down. Very simple. Mechanoreceptors, they sense mechanical forces and transmit signals related to pressure, to stretching, and to movement. So your fascial system, the mechanoreceptors, those types of receptors inside of your fascial system, right? They sense touch, they sense pressure, they sense stretching, and they sense movement. And when you go into movement, when your mechanoreceptors can make out that you're moving, they actually are in conversation with your fascial system, obviously, and they're sending more and more hydration through the fascia nervous system, which helps to regulate your entire body, mind, body, and spirit. It helps to regulate your emotions as well. This is why I keep talking to you about movement. Breathing. Deep breathing is movement inside of your body. We don't always think of it that way, do we? To remember that when you breathe, you're actually hydrating your nervous system. Okay, so those are the mechanoreceptors, right? That's the first receptor that's within your fascial system. We said proprioceptors. Proprioceptors, those provide information about body position. Body position. How are you standing in space? It also gives you information about muscle tension and joint angles. So the angles of your joint. So you know how sometimes we feel off in our bodies. Well, maybe you don't, but I know that sometimes I feel a little bit off in my body. I feel like my shoulder is kind of off, or there's like my elbows off. I feel like my joint is not in place. That's your proprioceptors in your body that are picking up on how the angles of your joints feel in your body. Also, body positioning in space. So one of the first things that happens if you come and see me for a body alignment session in my work, I'm immediately going to have you check in and feel your body in space. And why is that important? If you know where your body is in space, you tend to act accordingly when you communicate. If you're disconnected to where you stand in space, it makes it much more difficult to be able to communicate appropriately. Now, for some people who have a hard time proprioceptively in space, it's always very helpful if you're with them that you have an agreement before going out into social milieus with them. You want to have an agreement where you'll say, I'm going to stay close to you, or we can go arm in arm, to give them a sense of confidence, to give them a sense of safety when they are in social environments. So it's a good tip. If ever you have some people in your life, or if you yourself, if you have social anxiety, you might be disconnected to proprioceptively knowing how to stand in space. So if you have someone that's with you, that's close to you, a lot of the time, your mechanoreceptors and your proprioceptors, right, the feel, the touch, the pressure, being close to someone can really help you to feel safer in social environments. And the third type of receptor we have in your fascial system are interoreceptors. Those monitor internal bodily states, such as temperature, the temperature of your body, if you're feeling any pain, and organ function. So you know your interoceptors are working properly when most people in the morning wake up and they have to go to the bathroom. That's giving you signals, right? Your bodily functions are communicating with your fascial system, with your nervous system, because you know you need to go and release yourself first thing in the morning. Amazing. So if your interoceptors aren't working properly within your fascial system, then you might have some issues with having normal bodily functions. So it's just really nice to know how this works, because when you know how it works, you can actually do something about it. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second, just check in with you if there are any questions. Hi, Pranjal. Pranjal is also here. Thank you for responding. Jenny asks, I wonder if immaturity of these receptors is why teens who are growing are so clumsy. I can totally fit through that doorway while another person is walking through it. Crash, haha. Yes, right? So you're talking about those proprioceptors, knowing how we fit in space, and why teenagers kind of have sometimes a hard time identifying which way to walk or which way to go, because they can be either so tall because actually they have growth spurts. And so where they could walk through a door a month ago, they can no longer do that, but they'll bump their heads because they're growing so quickly. Excellent question and contemplation, Jenny. Yeah, that's exactly right. And so this is why teenage years are so weird, right? We're trying to find our space. We're trying to find our space in the world. We're trying to find our space in our hearts. And we are physically trying to find our space. They are clumsy. Great. Yeah, they're like clumsy Great Dane puppies. Exactly. Yeah, that's funny, Jenny. Thank you. That's exactly right. They're just kind of like all over the place. What's the expression? Like a bull in a china shop? You're trying to figure out your spacing. Pranjal asks, how can we work on bodily positioning in space individually? How can we work on body positioning in space individually? So, Pranjal, I was just offering information about if you go into social circles with someone who might not be comfortable in social circles, and so you might go with them and have touch and be close to them so that they feel safer. So I'm wondering if you're asking me, how can we work on body positioning in space individually in social circles? Is that what you mean? Are you referring to maybe being uncomfortable rather in social circles if you're by yourself? Just let me know if I'm understanding the question correctly. How you can position your body in space individually if you're out in the world, if you're having trouble finding your proprioception in space by yourself. Hey, good morning. Leanne is here. She just joined us. Hi, Leanne. Lovely to have you here. Pranjal, I'm going to let you respond to my question, so I'm sure I'm responding properly. So are you asking about how you do that individually in social circles, or just in general? How do you position your body in space individually? I'll give you a moment to respond to that. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So we just talked about the three receptors that are found in the fascial system. So we have mechanoreceptors, we have proprioceptors, and we have interoceptors. And the nervous system now, so that was your fascial system. The nervous system, in turn, receives and processes these signals from the fascia, integrating them with information from other sensory systems. So now you have your connective tissue, your fascia system that connects, that communicates with your nervous system through those receptors, the three types of receptors we talked about. In turn, the nervous system takes this information and sends it out throughout your body to other systems, to other sensory systems. It's pretty complex and magical. So now you have a bi-directional communication system that awakens between fascia and the nervous system, and that enables your body to remain in balance. It enables your body to better adapt to changes, and it responds to all different types of stimuli. So their healthy relationship is super important. And how can you continue to maintain health between your fascia nervous system? Well, I got just three suggestions for you. Okay, let me go back here and see if Pranjal. Okay, Pranjal says, in case we don't have someone to get comfortable with and we are by ourselves, are there any exercises to practice at home to get ready for social circles? Thank you for clarifying. Yes, Pranjal, there are. And I'm going to share a few of them with you right now. So first of all, in order for you to have a healthy system that works together, and to, in a sense, I think, Pranjal, what you're asking is, how do we get grounded, right? Before we go out in the world, how do we get grounded before we move out? Or if you need to be in a social environment, you don't necessarily want to go, but you have to go. How do we get more comfortable, essentially, in our own bodies when we are around other people? Well, here are some ways where you can maintain a healthy fascia nervous system relationship. And within my answer, within this information, Pranjal, will be the answer to your question. So first, movement and biomechanics. Learning more and more about how you move through the world. Which means if sometimes you are in social circles and you can get nervous, start to become aware of how you are in space if you feel nervous. What happens? Do you tend to shut down? So that is a movement and biomechanic response. If you get nervous, might you start to sweat? And that makes you even more uncomfortable. So that is a reaction to being uncomfortable in social circles. So what can you do? Become more aware of your movement and biomechanics, how you're moving through space. So fascia, your fascial system will provide structural support, stability, and flexibility to your body. So if your fascial system will provide that kind of support, you want to make sure that when you are out in the world, that you, on your own time at home, Pranjal, is that you actually get to do these practices, the somatic practices that I've been teaching you: foam rolling, breath work, meditation. But now you're doing all of these exercises from a body felt sense perspective. So you're not meditating to move into another dimension. In fact, you're coming into your body more and more so that you get aligned, you get present to how you feel. You can feel the nervousness. In fact, you can reenact the sensation of nervousness that arises within you if you are in a social circle. Notice I said you can reenact. You don't want to re-traumatize yourself, but you can reenact a small sensation of what it feels like when you have to go out in a social environment that makes you feel uncomfortable. You can bring it to the surface of your body, tap in. And for example, I do this every single morning. I'm not lying. I lay on my roller every single morning and I release my nervous system. I release my central nervous system. I calm down my brain and my spine just by doing very gentle rotations on my foam roller. That helps to reset the neurobiology of my body. So this is one thing that you can do, Pranjal, if you need to be out in the world and you're feeling uncomfortable or nervous. Okay, so movement and biomechanics will always help us to bring ourselves back into our bodies because we are moving, living beings. So whenever we want to calm our sense of self, when we want to drop in and relax our bodies, we need to do physical activity, movement, to help us become more embodied. Okay, so movement and biomechanics really play a vital role in coordination. So if your body is relaxed and aligned, you will tend to be more relaxed and aligned in social circles. And it's going to take a little bit of practice, especially if you tend to have a lot of anxiety when you go into social circles, or sometimes it's specific social environments. Maybe it's family. Sometimes visiting family can bring up emotions. So learning how to tap in and to calm down your nervous fascia system, by example, in this case, foam rolling. You can also do different types of breathing exercises that help you, again, to come back into your body so that when you're out in the world, you're proprioceptively aware, right? You know what's going on around you because you have relaxed your central nervous system. So you're not in a fight, flight, freeze response mechanism. You're embodied, you're in your body, and you can now have more of a sense of what's going on around you. And when we are more awakened into what's occurring around us, we have more power in balancing how we respond to it. Responding and reacting are two very different things. And what I'm talking to you about here is responding. If you are embodied and you have calmed down your central nervous system, you will tend to communicate with more ease. And another thing that's super important is that you will tend to not speak as much as you usually would if you're nervous. Notice when you're nervous, a lot of the time we tend to talk quickly or we don't take any pauses. We tend to want to fill up the space because that's what our nervous system it's activated. So if your nervous system is activated, you're going to just keep moving and talking and going. And that's why a lot of people drink at social events. it kind of numbs out their nervous system, and it makes it easier for them to engage. Okay, so movement and biomechanics, being aware of your body by doing some simple releasing exercises before having to go out in public. The other way to take care of your fascia nervous system is sensory integration and body awareness. So that's an extension of what I just shared. So we already know fascia contains numerous sensory receptors, and those receptors provide constant feedback to your body. Now, the feedback that goes back into your body, that contributes to body awareness. It contributes to a heightened proprioceptive relationship to those around you. And it also helps you with the ability to perceive and respond appropriately, which is what I just shared about communicating from a place of present awareness, responding as opposed to reacting when your nervous system is on a high drive. And the most beautiful thing about this is that this whole healthy fascia nervous system, well, we actually become more confident in our presentation styles because we feel connected. Our coordination is enhanced, meaning you will tend to be more aware of how you use your hands, how you use your arms to express yourself, or if you decide to keep your hands closer to your body. The distinction is that you are more aware of how you use your body. And when we are aware of how we use our bodies, it builds confidence. That's a beautiful thing about being aware in the moment. It gives you a better sense of balance in space as well as spatial coordination. So you know if you're coming in too close to someone or if you're too far from someone. So all of this fascia nervous system coordination, interweaving relationship, the conversation between those two really help you to become much more in the present moment and to deal with situations that are not always easy more successfully. And finally, the last thing I want to share with you about the importance of maintaining a healthy fascia nervous system relationship is that it will help to regulate tension and your stress responses. So when your body is in relationship to one another, those two systems, fascia nervous system, you will become more aware of when you get tight, or if you're in a conversation with someone and you get angry about something. If you can maintain a sense of communication between those two systems, which is you pause, right? Here are the actual tools. You pause, you take a moment. And my friends, pausing is the key. It is the secret sauce to confidence. That's why it takes a little bit of practice to develop it. Because when you pause, you're actually allowing a space for the other person to hear what you just shared. And at the same time, when you don't jump in to answer right away, if your nervous system is regulated, if you don't jump in to respond immediately, it gives a chance for the other person to actually hear what they just said without having you paraphrase it for them. Paraphrasing is a tool that we use in communication skills so that when someone says something to you, especially in business environments, I do it a lot in my couples coaching work. I work with couples and I help them to become more mindful about their communication styles because 9.999 times out of 10, that is what is going wrong in the relationship, is that they're no longer listening to one another. When we pause, we allow for some space, some breath to occur. And of course, what happens when you breathe consciously, you are sending your hydration system. You're sending fluids through your connective, your fascial, and nervous system, which of course regulates all of the systems in your body so that you might become a more effective communicator. So when you have a relationship with when you tense your body, when you're aware of that, you can now become more agile at dealing with stress. So I'll give you an example. Yesterday at my gym, there is a young lady who was having a seizure. She's epileptic and she has seizures. And so I was in class, I was doing my boxing class, and something was going on outside, and I could see that something was happening. And the teacher of the class came up to me and said, "Do you know what to do in case of an epileptic, or she's having a seizure?" I said, "Yeah, I know what to do." So I immediately ran outside and I helped this young lady to come back to present awareness with very simple tools. First of all, I introduced myself. I looked at her eyes. They were flickering all over the place. And I asked her if she could just focus on her breathing and could she see me? "Can you see me?" She nods her head. "Great." "Can you breathe?" Not so much. Her hands were tightly closed. So I asked her, "Can you please try to open up your left hand? Try to unlock your hand. Try to move your hand." And slowly, by bringing all of her physical systems to attend to opening her hand, she started to calm down because she was focusing on one point of action. So you can regulate tension. This is a specific example, of course, of something that happened yesterday, but shortly, by staying with her and just inviting her to focus on one thing at a time, she was able to come back to center and quicker, right? I mean, you have to let the process of the epilepsy, of the actual seizure, to move through the body. And she's used to this. Epileptics get seizures sometimes often. In her case, happens about once a month. But just knowing that there's someone there who can bring you back to center by focusing on one point really helps to calm down your nervous system. So you become more aware of your own stresses. You become more aware of when your body becomes tight. If your body becomes tight, it's because you're not breathing, because something has brought anxiety or a trigger in your body. So if you're by yourself, Pranjal, before being in a social environment, you want to allow yourself 15 to 20, sometimes 30 minutes to bring yourself into a state of present awareness. And I'll say one more thing about that is that sometimes people will say to me, "Anne-Marie, it's not realistic. I can't take 15 to 20 to 30 minutes to bring myself to center." Well, I want to invite you to consider this, like to really think about what's the priority in your life. Is it to move at the rhythm and speed of everyone else? Or is it about moving at your speed? Is it about, as you get older, as you mature in life, you're all adults here, as you move forward in life, how do you want to manage your time? How do you want to manage your stress? Because stress will arise. And maybe there's more stress as we get older. I think there is. But the one thing I do know from personal practice is that I'm consistently bringing myself to center and calming my nervous system. And I have all types of tools to help me do that I'll be sharing with you over the next Mondays. So far, we've looked in depth at this fascia nervous system relationship today and what you can do to fortify yourself, to have a more resilient system, especially in social environments, because it has become really difficult for a lot of people to deal with being in social environments. And now that we're post-COVID, we're invited to be in more and more social circles, and it's changed. Our social circles have changed. So how do you show up as authentic, as comfortable as yourself? We want to regulate and to maintain and to improve our fascia nervous system by integrating the simple tools that I've shared with you today. Jenny says, Maeve is epileptic. Yeah, your daughter is epileptic. You would be a great person to have around coming out of seizures. Yeah, it's really important to stay very calm and to be, there's one thing I have to say in all of these years of practice that I've been doing, both, holistic practitioner and coaching, I have to tell you, love. Love, love, love. When you come from a place of love, because what happens sometimes when people have seizures is that people themselves panic because they don't know what to do. And I mean, it's a good response because we want to call 911, we want to get the proper help. At the same time, to practice this nurturance of self-love by being embodied, by being in our bodies, so that we might respond. If you don't do anything, you can just hold the energy of love around someone who's epileptic, like this young lady yesterday. And so I knew what to do, of course, and it makes a difference. However, I want to invite you to consider to really practice calming down your nervous systems on a regular basis so that you become more attuned to what's occurring around you, so that you don't rush through your life because the system says you have to rush through your life, that you take the right courses, that you connect with the right people to nurture a sense of personal confidence. So when you feel that something is off, to trust yourself. Don't doubt yourself, trust yourself. And to have tools that you can return to over and over again on a daily basis. This is really what the new healthcare system, anyways, in my eyes, really should be all about. To learn to manage ourselves on a daily basis, to continuously forgive ourselves for mistakes that we might make throughout the day, to correct in the moment. If you have an argument with your child, with your partner, with your parent, with a friend, don't stay angry with a friend. Just recognize that maybe it was time for a break. That's okay. We can take breaks sometimes. But if you don't learn how to manage your nervous system, you're the one who stays stuck with the sensation of resentment. You're the one who stays stuck with this sense of feeling betrayed. I hear it all the time in my practice. So if you're here with me today, take these tools and make them a daily practice. Forgive yourself and forgive others, for God's sakes, because you are the only one carrying that stress, which can easily become chronic stress over the course of your life. Jenny writes, Jenny writes, yes, those are great tips to use for one coming out of a seizure. You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome, love. I'm glad that's helpful. Sabi says, in case of a person having epilepsy, I actually thought about it this morning. Oh, in addition to bring into present awareness, shall we also encourage the person to be put on her lateral side? So, Sabi, it depends of the situation. So if you have never done this or don't know how to take care of someone, usually what we'll do is we'll turn them towards their left side, not just any lateral side. So lateral side is the outside, right? Do you turn them on their side? That can be an effective way to deal with it, usually towards the left. Why? To encourage more blood flow through the heart. Not all cases, but in general, I'm generalizing. Sabi says, for the person not to swallow her tongue or else. Yes, so that's true. You would want to turn them to their left side, usually to prevent them from swallowing their tongue. So if you're back, right, and you're having a seizure, it's possible for you to choke yourself because the attachment to your tongue gets locked down in a seizure. They say swallowing your tongue, but it's more about the connection at the back of your throat where your tongue attaches to your trachea. And what happens is your tongue gets thick and it kind of pushes back, and then you can actually choke. So it's not so much swallowing your tongue, but yes, that's what they call it. So I hope this is helpful, Sabi, to have a little bit more information around what happens actually biomechanically. Maile, hi, honey. Thank you for being here and for announcing yourself. Jenny, yes, and people freak out. They're scary looking. Yeah, when somebody has a seizure, they're scary looking. So if you don't know what to do, you want to call 911. You want to get people who know what to do, because the fact that you're panicking is definitely not going to help the person who's having a seizure. Thank you, Jenny. Mostly, like Annie said, that's me, to be calm and present, and also to make sure there's nothing around them they can hurt themselves on. Thank you. Excellent point, Jenny. Yeah. So if you're in an environment where someone is having a seizure, you want to maintain a sense of calmness. And if you can't, get the heck out of the way. Don't stay in an environment that actually traumatizes you. You want to get out of the way. And you're absolutely right, Jenny, to take anything around them that might that they can hurt themselves with, because they could hold on and grab something inadvertently. That is not, that just happens when you have seizures, because you're actually in a state of panic in your body. You have a short circuit in your nervous system. Thank you, Jenny. That's a very good indication. Leanne says, thank you so much. Sabi says, thank you. It is very helpful. Wonderful, my friends. Thank you for being here today. Let's see, a couple of announcements. So I have launched my online program. I invite you to go to artofalignmentacademy.com. Right at the top, you can just click and it will take you to the program page where there's all the information. I would love, love, love to see you, all of you, in my 4-month online program. You can be in whatever country you want. I would really love to see you sign up for the program. I have made it as affordable as I can, considering the amount of time, the amount of work, the amount of coaches, the amount of guest speakers that I have. So I know that price is sometimes a consideration. I hope that you will be able to join us for the 4-month online program, because we're doing a deep dive. It's just an extension in many ways of what I've been teaching on my Monday lives. And if you are so inclined to, join us for the 4-day retreat, which is August 24th through the 27th. It's in Quebec City. I know not everyone can get to Quebec, but for those of you who can, or if you have friends in Quebec or in Montreal, send them the link to the program so that they can look at it for themselves. I would really appreciate your help in spreading the word about this program. I'm really proud of it. Maile, Sabi, who is on the call today, they are also going to be helping me as coaches, as guides in the program, to support you to go through the curriculum, to go through the homework, so that you are having extra support in addition to me to help you with the program. So give it a look. I hope that you enjoy it. I hope to see you sign up for the 4-month online program. It runs September 6th to December 20th, 2023. As always, if you have questions, reach out to me directly. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can reach me via email, on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. I'm out there on social media, so you can find me. And I want to thank you so much for being with me today. I hope that this was helpful, and I will very much look forward to seeing you next week. Bye, everyone. Take care.